Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse Frugally, and I am doing one of my favorite things today, and that is a primitive Christmas. So I'm going to start with the absolute most simple thing that anyone can do, and I am going to take a water bottle. Now, you could actually use a tin can here, but this works as well because I had some pieces of birch bark, and I thought that it would be great to just make a very simple and very inexpensive little arrangement that anyone can do. So all I did was cut down the water bottle to the height that I wanted it to be, and then I took the piece of birch bark, and this had come off of some wood that my husband was splitting, and so this was just perfect for me. But I know you can, oftentimes find this preferably off of a dead birch. You don't want to kill a birch for this. And so I just glued that right around. Now, a tin can would give you a little more weight. Initially, I was going to fill this with live greens and some red berries that I got outside. That's why I was using the water bottle, because it would be watertight. But once I got the red berries in, they came off so easily that they were making a mess, and I decided I would just go ahead and make this out of some artificial. So I put some green floral foam down into the bottom, and then I have one of those candles that you put a battery in and it lights, but a real candle would work here as well if you don't have one of these. And then I have just a couple of pieces left on this green pick. I definitely need more of the greenery, so I just took some of that, and then I had some boxwood. I think it's called boxwood. And I put some of that in there, and then a couple of pine cone picks that I had, as well as some blueberries. I thought these blueberries were really pretty, and I have a lot of blue in my kitchen. So I just added a couple of the blueberries to the green, and then I added just a few other little things that I had. But whatever you have in your stash and whatever goes with your colors, and if you have these little pine cones, they are always great as well for a little bit of filler. So that is really all that I did. I just filled that up. And then once I had a piece of string on there just holding the birch while it dried. So then I changed that out for just a piece of homespun with some blue in it to match the blueberries. And it was that simple. So this would make a really sweet teacher gift or a hostess gift, or if you made several of these, you could put them in different heights on your tabletop as a display. And I just think it's just very, very sweet, very simple, very, very inexpensive, and just has that primitive country touch to it with that birch bark, and it's a little bit woodland as well, rustic woodland. So that is how that came out. I like the little rusty bell on that to just add a little bit more of the primitive style. So that was the most simple of these today. There's a couple getting just a little bit more complicated, but not terribly complicated. So I am going to then go on to item number 2. I had in my stash for like 10 years, literally, this little bit of potpourri. And it has in it the cutest little sheep face. And I always wanted it just for the sheep face, but I just never knew what I was going to do with it. And today I got the idea that I am going to make my own little sheep. I'm a spinner, so I have a lot of wool and rovings and things like that hanging around my home. So I decided I will attempt to make a sheep. So I took a clothespin and I put just like a little bit of a head, some little bit more than, so it could be a little bit flexible, and then just added some legs to that. And then I just took my hot glue and some of those wool rovings, and I just sort of glued them here, there, and everywhere on the body and down the legs, and nothing fancy for sure. just to get it on there and get the shape of the body first. And then once I had the body on there and the legs wrapped, then I took the roving and I just peeled some pieces off that were a little bit wavy and had more of the look of a sheep. I added a little tail, and then I just wrapped very gently one piece at a time around the body of the sheep to get me a more finished look. And then once I had that done, I glued the face onto the piece of pipe cleaner that I had put as sort of like a neck or a head on top of, because the clothespin I don't think was quite flexible enough. If I did this again, I would definitely have doubled up on the legs. They were a little bit flexible, and I think he is absolutely adorable, but honestly, I can't decide if he is a lion or a lamb. So I think in this case, he is the lion and the lamb. So I think that he's adorable with that little display I made in my 12 Days of Christmas, that little baby Jesus doll and the little Mary doll that I also picked up on my good table at the dump. So that takes me on to number 3. This might be my favorite one. While I had those wool rovings out, I decided to take some pipe cleaners, and I glued 3 pipe cleaners together to get this a little bit bulkier. And then I just took some of the straight wool rovings. Rovings are already combed out, so they're not like that first one that I put on the sheep. That kind of comes right off the sheep, and it's very curly kind of and wavy, whereas this one is already combed out, and so it's easier to work with for something like this. So if you wanted to reproduce this and you were looking for some wool roving, that is what you'd use. But you could also use some, what is that called? Warm and natural, or cloth batting, or maybe even some drop cloth here. And I am just gluing and twisting and gluing and twisting until I get the length of the pipe cleaner that I want covered in the roving. And then once I get that done, I had purchased this fall a bag full of colored rovings, and that's what gave me the idea to do this. Some of these are green and some of these are in the red tones. So I just pulled out the red one. It's kind of a burgundy red, and I just peeled a long strip, a thin long strip of that to twist on. And today's collaboration is hosted by Dawn and Shelley, and it is Rustic Wednesday, but on Saturday, where we do rustic and primitive. So check out their channels and the playlist that I will have linked in the description box, and see all the other rustic and primitive items that the other creators have made. Now, all I am doing here is making sure that I have the angle on the red to give the look of a candy cane, so that as I spin this around, it is giving me just a somewhat even spacing, so that the red and the white are separated. Now, this is supposed to be primitive, and it is a little bulky and imperfect, and that is exactly what I'm looking for. But that is completely up to you how perfect you want this to be. And then when I get to the end, I just go ahead and glue that off. And I am going to make 3 of these. And then, of course, because it is just a flexible pipe cleaner underneath the wool, I can just bend the candy cane head to make it look more like a candy cane, although you could keep these obviously as just sticks. Now, you could add glitter, you could, depends on your style. For me, I like things a little bit more neutral, so I went ahead and I created 3 of those. And then in the theme of primitive country. I used a homespun fabric, and I intended to tie that on with some greenery and such. But to be honest, after I got it on, that is just a little too primitive country for what I am going for in my home. And I went back to a neutral colored ribbon, kind of like a drop cloth that I had in my stash. I like that a lot better for me. And then I just took a couple pieces of green left over from a Christmas tree pick, and then added a rusty star and a couple of pine cones in the center of that. But obviously there's any number of things that you could add here to embellish this for whatever look that you are going for. So I would love to know in the comments section if this is something that you would be interested in reproducing. I will definitely be making more of these in the future, I am sure, as I think they came out really, really sweet. And there are so many places in my home that they look so lovely. Next to, I have that in a bed spring there, and then with my yellowware that I collect, I just absolutely love the way that that looks there. And then also inside of my armoire here, just so many areas in my home that I could display these. So let me know what you think about those. And that takes me on to this little doll. She has like a little bean or sand bottom, and that was found on the good table at my dump just like that. And so I thought that I would take just a little bit of fabric, then try to create for her a little dress. So I am just going to fold down the top and glue that to give it more of a neckline. And then it had on the bottom of it already pinstripe type fabric. So that, I don't know if that was a curtain or what it was initially, but that was already sewn together. So then I just cut some little armholes out and then slid her arms in there. And then once I had that on and turned that over, you can see the other fabric there. I just glued down the seams and then glued the back together to make this look like a sleeveless dress. And I am out of frame. I apologize. I am still working on getting my camera and my ring light the way that I want them in my craft room. And so I think I am going to have to switch that out completely and separate the two so that I can get a better angle on the camera. The ring light my son bought me is huge, so it definitely cannot go on the table. So we are still working on that. So then I took a matching or coordinating homespun fabric, and I want to just make what appears to be sleeves here. And so all I am doing is just taking that, cutting that down, hemming that with some glue, and then I am going to wrap those together. I'm going to cut a neck hole out so that these sleeves can be glued together, and then I'm going to bend her arms forward and just tack them down with a little bit of glue so that she can hold something or, you know, look like she's got her hands together. And then once I have the bulk of that done, I decide to add a little coordinating pocket. And then once I'm done with that, I have some wool that I have made into yarn in a red tone. So I am just going to go ahead and add some hair. I'm going to give her some bangs and then cut the length of hair that I want in the back. And then I'm going to put it on the other way so that she has hair on the sides. Very, very simple here, nothing complicated. I have done a couple of other dolls in the last month, so if you've seen my more recent Christmas videos, you will have seen an angel and another doll that I did with brown hair and braids and buns and such. But this one I'm just going to keep long. And then once I have that done, I add a little face, and then I had this like raffia bow. I just cut the ends of the bow off and added the raffia wings because this is supposed to be Christmas, this collaboration. But to be honest, I am not going to keep the wings on her. Again, she matches so many items in my home, and I didn't make her so Christmassy that she wouldn't go all year round. So here she is with her wings, and then here she is without her wings. Added a little button to that dress, and again, I love her with so many items in my home. So I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to check out the playlist. Hit subscribe if you are not, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.